Here.
Chuck Long, General Counsel.
Here.
I wasn't sure. Cedric Baker, Chief of Staff. Okay. Kai-Ying Tao, Board Administrator.
Here.
And I'm Sarah Delkey, Board Secretary, and I'll turn it back to you, Chair Foster.
Thank you. To ensure effective discussion via this phone conference, I will be using our roll call procedure to ensure each board member and the superintendent has an opportunity to provide input. If you have questions or comments, please hold them until I call your name. I would like to remind everyone that this is an open meeting and welcome all community members of the public who are monitoring at this time. Also, as a reminder, I ask all board directors and staff on the line to please mute your phone when you're not speaking, just as you would turn off your microphone if yes. This request is also extended to all others on the line. Next, I'd like to move to approve the order of the main agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. That motion was seconded by Director Vu. Vote, please.
Director Broderick,
Yes.
Director Vu,
Yes.
Director Allen,
Yes.
Director Kopp,
Yes.
Director Ellis,
Yes.
and Director Foster.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to interview of candidates to fill the vacant board position. As a reminder, candidates have 10 minutes to present based on their 4 questions below. An interview are scheduled every 15 minutes. At the end of the 10 minutes, applicants will be asked to complete their presentation. There will be no follow-up questions, only simple clarifying questions determined by the chair. Candidates were sent the following questions. 1, do you intend to run in a special election this November for the remainder of the term? 2, why do you want to serve on the board for this short appointment? 3, what relevant experience would you bring to the board? And please be specific about what your unique contributions or perspectives would be. And 4, what are your views and experience with collaborative leadership? With that, we'll move into our interview. Bringing forth Yusuf, is it Carrillo?
Yes. And first of all, I just wanted to check and make sure that I could be heard and seen.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, Yusuf Carrillo. It's hard to roll the R sometimes, but Carrillo is okay. Carrillo is fine too.
Okay.
I guess, do I have the time right now?
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Dear Board of Directors, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and to the rest of the St. Paul Public Schools constituents. I first of all want to acknowledge the difficult and challenging times that we are in and want to thank you for your dedication and that of the staff that had made this interview process possible. I would have loved to be present to interact with you in person, along with our community, sharing in what should be a celebration of civic life, together as St. Paul residents. This is not the case, as COVID has interrupted a large part of our civic and social lives. But hope is alive, and more so now that vaccines are becoming more and more available. We all have this hope. We have yearned and longed for the time when some semblance of normalcy will kick in. We know it won't be the same as before, but we have the opportunity to make it a better reality. And I want to share with you my vision of hope and renewal for the role of board director that you will be appointing. To be clear, I am seriously contemplating a run for the November election for the remainder of the term. I am currently researching my options in this regard. The reason why I'm applying for this appointment because I want to give back in service what has been gifted and invested to me since childhood. There are people and communities that I cannot pay back, but I was instilled with the notion of paying it forward. And in doing so, I fulfill so many dreams that educators, civil servants, my family, friends have had for me. I am applying because I want to give voice to the voiceless, the families we overlook because they don't navigate the systems as we would like them to, the communities that we should be engaging more often, the families who don't feel like they fit or don't have the resources to advocate for their students. See, I was born in Granada, a small city about the same size as St. Paul in southern Spain. I grew up a third culture kid, straddling my white American and Mexican heritage from my parents, and my Spanish home culture and my school and friendships. I struggled many times to fit in, both in Spain and in the US. I care deeply that access, voice, and representation are equally available to all of our families and constituents. I have learned over time we do great harm by attempting to insert our voices and speak for our communities, rather than listening, learning, and amplifying the needs they identify. I am applying because I'm inspired to serve the city of St. Paul, its students and families in a tangible way with the skills and gifts that I have. I believe in our students the same way people believed in me many years ago. We may have more or less difficult paths ahead of us, but our dreams are valuable and worth fighting for. I want to champion our most important asset, our children's future, and consequently the future of our city, encouraging a holistic education that does not stop at college and career, but that also builds caring citizens, critical thinkers, art lovers. In essence, people who build a society and people who can heal others and encourage them to join in the building. So I'm going to brief description of what you can expect of me, commitments that I would have. I commit to be equitable, challenging policies and practices that intentionally or not silence traditionally disenfranchised communities. I commit to be approachable. I want to be open to the community, to my fellow board members, staff, both for comment and for guidance. I like talking to people and listening to who they are. I commit to be diligent. I will work tirelessly for the benefit of all St. Paul students and their families, all neighborhoods, and all school communities. I commit to be encouraging. I want to sow seeds of trust and growth in our district by being an encouraging presence to those I work and collaborate with. So a little bit of background and expertise, experience that I have. First of all, I'm a child of many cultures. Language, I have language knowledge in Spanish. I'm biliteral. And at the same time, I'm a language learner myself, having transitioned from a fully, immersed Spanish experience to having to do all of my college and career in English. I have a master's in history from Cal State East Bay with a specialty in Native American history and the West. In my work in Oakland Unified School District, I worked as a coordinator for the district enrollment center, and I handled, a flow of over 20,000 visits per year. We had to manage those logistics. I understand how Title I and Title III funding auditing works for different programs and how that relates to enrollment. Interpreting and advising leadership on board policy regarding enrollment, such as priorities, the lottery, sibling preferences. I understand contracting guidelines and bidding processes, as well as board approval processes for contractors. Participated in a steering committee to develop new citywide enrollment processes. It was called Enroll Oakland. And I have drafted and processed enrollment projections, which is the basis for the budgetary allocations at each school site. So, and I presented those results to the board and back then to the existing CFO and budget team. So those are a little bit of experience that I've had with Oakland Unified. Currently, I work at Securian. I'm an analyst for the company, and I've gained a strong financial background. I'm a certified FINRA, member. I work directly in an agile team environment, rallying support for the business, and I've built a very strong accounting knowledge, and I support many teams with that knowledge through their certification processes. So, what are my views and experiences with collaborative leadership? As a professional in both private industry and the educational world, I've had a lot of experience with collaborative leadership. In my current role, I've had to exercise collaborative leadership on a daily basis, breaking down silos that may exist between the business teams and the developers. Our call in my current job is to help decision-making be more efficient, enabling leadership on both sides to understand what constraints or opportunities lie ahead when facing a project or a fix. I really believe that you cannot lead effectively if you can't break those barriers that allow people and your staff to better support you and each other. In a functional leadership body, such as a committee or a board, collaborative leadership is essential to healthy functioning of all the members. I also believe that good collaborative leadership happens when silos are broken down between the leadership and different stakeholders, such as staff, teachers, SPFE, parent organizations, PTA groups. While governance still lies in the body of the board, collaborative leadership allows the board members to rely on a larger experience, knowledge bench to be able to tackle large issues. I fully agree with both the concept and the board policies that support collaborative leadership. It is important, however, to always note that collaborative leadership is not a way to silence our own integrity and conscience for political expediency. We have responsibilities that go beyond simply rubber stamping actions or policies, and it is our duty to make sure decision-making, policy implementation, contract review, budgeting are all done in a transparent and open way to our constituents, which is to say, collaborative leadership also collaborates with the people of St. Paul. That responsibility rests on the board's shoulders. Good collaborative leadership will seek to narrow the focus of the issue and widen the spectrum of voices that we hear to pursue effective leadership that is both transparent and beneficial to our students. And with that, I'd end. Thank you very much for this opportunity that you've given me to speak.
Thank you for your time. Next is James Sparkle.
Chair Foster, I had it scheduled for, I think 6:20, so I'll see if you can join a little bit earlier.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, and it looks like James is here, so we should be all set.
Thank you. Mr. Farnsworth, welcome.
Hi there. I'm going to work on getting my slides up here. Let's see here. Right. You're able to see my screen?
We are.
Fantastic. I will go when you're ready.
The floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chair Foster, Vice Chair Vu, and members of the Board of Education. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening to talk to you a little bit about why I'm interested in serving in the interim director position on the St. Paul School Board. So just a quick overview of what I'll be going over. I think most of this won't be a surprise, but I'll talk just a little bit about myself, my SPPS story, and then the 4 questions. I won't go over them, but these are the 4 questions that we were provided and asked to answer, and I will be answering those in order. So a little bit about myself. I'm a multiracial adoptee born in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I am American and Latino descent. Adopted when I was just under 1 year old. I was in foster care for about 6 months. And then was adopted by 2 loving parents and grew up in Minneapolis before attending Highland Park Senior High, which I'll talk more about in a second. My parents were 2 longtime public school teachers in Minneapolis public schools. Currently, I am a nonprofit executive director here in St. Paul. I'm the executive director of the Highland Business Association. I consider myself a passionate community volunteer and really believe in the true essence of the phrase, we all do better when we all do better. I'm a current resident of Cathedral Hill, and I live with 3 roommates who are all proud St. Paul Public Schools graduates. And something that I wanted to address with the board this evening and for folks that are watching that was not originally on my slide last night when I put these together is that last night I was elected to be the Congressional District 4 representative on the University of Minnesota Board of Regents, which I believe would be or is going to be a very complementary service to being on the St. Paul Public Schools Board of Education, being able to look more broadly at the K-12 pipeline to higher education. And I think not only will that service provide me with some great governance credentials, but also will allow me to be a real asset when thinking about how SPPS prepares our graduates for higher education and career and technical training and anything else that our graduates might be doing when leaving St. Paul Public Schools. Just a few, again, I'm not going to go over all of this, but I do bring a wide range of governance experience. I have governance experience on larger nonprofits, smaller nonprofits that focus on arts enrichment for St. Paul Public School students. I've served on executive committees in board leadership. I've served on neighborhood association boards, so I have a wide range of governance related skills and experience that I would bring to this interim appointment. And most importantly, in the About Me section is that I'm a proud product of St. Paul Public Schools. As I mentioned, I'm a graduate of Highland Park Senior High. I'm class of 2016. You can see me there on the right. Here I am again. But just to talk a little bit more briefly about my experience in SPPS, I got to do a wide range of cool enrichment activities when I was in St. Paul Public Schools that I think speaks to the breadth of opportunities and programmatic opportunities that St. Paul Public Schools offers our students. When I was a student in SPPS, I participated in district advocacy. So I helped create and start the conversations around the creation of SEEB. I actually signed up as a senior in high school. I signed up for public comment in front of the school board to talk about how I thought we needed some more student representation and kind of ingrained structure to have student representation at the table. And that led to the creation of SEEB, which I'm really proud to see is still thriving today. I also, as some of you may know, have done close observation of school board activities over the years, so really understanding what the role and function of the board is. And then I've done a lot of advocacy specifically around budgetary decisions facing the board. My other past and current involvement in SPPS includes diving into the work on ethnic studies, so having served on the Multicultural Ethnic Studies Stakeholder Group and now serving on the Critical Ethnic Studies Steering Committee. So to answer question number 1, why do you want to serve on the board for this short appointment? I really believe it's an absolutely critical time for the district, and I feel I'm uniquely prepared to jump in and roll up my sleeves and get to work given my experiences and skills. I have a strong knowledge of the district and specifically the distance learning environment that we've been in, not only from parents and students and stakeholders, but having been a student in higher education myself, experiencing distance learning. I think being on the receiving end of that as a student would bring a unique perspective to board discussions around distance learning, educational delivery, the direction that we're headed in St. Paul Public Schools. And I really, have a desire to take my existing relationships, what I view to be a uniquely relevant perspective, my extensive governance experience, and put them to work on behalf of the SPPS community during this critical time. The second question that we were asked to address, so what relevant experience would you bring to the board? Please be specific about your unique contribution and about what your unique contribution and perspective would be. I think I already talked a little bit about my governance experience. Being a proud product of St. Paul Public Schools, I have a personal affinity for the district, which to me translates into a deep personal commitment to exercising careful stewardship and oversight of the district. St. Paul Public Schools is a really important place for me. I'm a product of St. Paul Public Schools. It's always going to be in my heart, and I'm so blessed to have had so many wonderful educators and folks that I've met related to St. Paul Public Schools. So for me, being on the board would be a commitment that I would take really seriously. I spent the past 8 months doing extensive engagement with close district stakeholders. I'll address that at the end of my presentation. I believe I'd bring a balanced slate of board governance and policy-making experience to the board, and I feel given all that, I'm ready to jump in and get to work. Question number 3, what are your views and experiences with collaborative leadership? I currently am seated on an educational institution board, or I guess as of last night, 2 educational institution boards that utilize consensus-based governance. So I have experience on a board that I'm on now that utilizes consensus-based governance, which means you really have to come together as a team, discuss the tough issues, and when you have a disagreement, you know, it's not that, again, everyone has to agree on everything when you walk away, but I think that consensus-based governance has taught me a ton about what collaborative leadership means and looks like in a board setting. I have a background in HR, which has strengthened my ability to listen carefully to all voices, synthesize information, and thrive in team settings in particular. I strongly believe in collaborative and respectful governance. This does not mean everyone has to always vote the same way. What I mean by respectful and collaborative governance is that it's important for folks to be collaborative in the facilitation of a final outcome of a decision, even if you may have disagreed with a certain decision that came in front of the board. It's important to stand behind that decision, show up every day and work the best that you can to help implement that decision. Or if you disagree with it, help improve that decision to get the best outcome for the district. And finally, I want to wrap up in a comprehensive way with answering the last question, which was, do you intend to run in the special election this November for the remainder of the term? My answer to that is yes. I believe in such a critical time for the district. I don't think that sustained transition is best for the school board and making sure that there's steady leadership of the district. So as the board knows here, and I want to make sure the public knows with full transparency that I was a candidate for the school board last time. I am going to be, or I already am a candidate for the school board in this November regular election in 2021. So as you can see, I kind of addressed that here on the slide as well. I'm ready to get started. I view this, if I have the honor of getting appointed to this interim seat, as a long-term commitment. So if appointed, I would then plan to run to in the special election, so to file for this same seat in the special election this November to ensure transparency and continuity. And I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions about that. And with that, I think that is the end of my presentation. I really appreciate the opportunity and happy to answer any clarifying questions.
Board members, if there's a raised hand for any clarifying questions. Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Next is Samakab Hussein. I don't know where we're at on time, Sarah, so we may have a pause here for a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I had him scheduled for 6:35, so I'll see if he can join us a bit early.
Thank you. Board members, I'm looking for raised hands. If you have any clarifying questions, I'll call on you. If not, I'll move forward.
And it looks like we have Samakab here, Chair Foster.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you, Samakab. Yes, we can hear you. Are you prepared to begin, sir?
Yes.
And the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening, Madam Chair and the board members. And before I answer all those questions, I would like to provide you my background, and I am likely to run in a three-way race for 4-year term. And I would like to give you a little bit of my background, why I'm seeking. Hello, my name is Samakab Hussein. My family and I moved to Minnesota from Somalia to seek a better life. Civil war in Somalia had put our life at risk. It had also interrupted my education. I started at ESL, St. Paul Public School. I had to learn English from the bottom, and English and catching up on all the schoolings that I have missed while I was in camp. It was hard, but I had teachers who was willing to help me in my class, such as Miss Williams, the assistant principal's mother, helped me after school with my homework, my English, and giving me an encouragement, and along with other teachers' help, that developed self-confidence and believing in myself. I graduated an honor 3.5, and I went to St. Paul Tech College, where my plan was to take an accounting so I can provide my family and have a saving for a little bit. My mother was so proud of it that I graduated from high school and I went to college because it's something that she has always dreamed about it. It was an American dream for her because she did not have that opportunity while she was growing up. From St. Paul Tech, I went to work for one of the largest bank, Wells Fargo, in downtown Minneapolis. While I was saving money and I had to go to continue to get my bachelor degree from St. Mary University of the class of 2011. That program provided me to go at nighttime, and I had to get a little bit saving from my tuition so I could go to and have a better life. My family supported me, so did my teachers in Arlington High School. So did the public library. I believe that if I am on the board, both in appointment term and the elected board, I can help our schools to provide support, to provide extra help after school and in the evening and in the weekend for students who want to succeed like I did. As some of those first language is not easy to learn English, I believe that I can help parents and grandparents find a way to help their children to fit into our schools and to become successful. If it's more than just reading and writing and math, it is important for our students to find in society and socially to feel that adults know how they are and that student feels that they are more important in the classroom. I am proud that I am successful and had a successful story in St. Paul Public Schools, and I can relate it to that information to our children's. I believe that if I'm not, but every student was lucky. Every student is not as lucky as I was. And to have an adult help when they need it, it is very important in our classroom. I am proud that I accept the help and that I did my part for encouraging myself to learn English from the bottom. When I came to this country, I was not able to speak one language. I am proud of myself. As a board member, I hope to be a good example and to spend the time with student, family, and teachers offering encouragement to education. It's important for our kids. So it's trying to be better. And so it's having people who are willing to help when they need it. I'm lucky that I have worked in Wells Fargo and finished 7 years and working in a corporate America, working from my bottom up until I got managed approximately 40 employees, and I was their team leads. And there was no discrimination, but it's hard work, and that's what I believe. I started in 7 years ago, my small business, working and several employees, and a business that allows them to support themselves. And I know how to deal with budgeting, financials, and conflict. One of my projects that I am very proud of, that I just worked on it, coming back from Somalia to build a stadium that we have raised close to $1 million, working with diaspora and working with Somali government, local and federal level, so that we can have some of the kids better life playing soccer and taking off from the street for joining some radicals. So that's why I have collaborated that project for the past 4 years, and it's almost becoming successful, and we haven't finished line. We're only missing for $4,000, and I'm willing to do that. I also has worked with the capital budget improvement for since 2015 for City of St. Paul advisory body of 18 St. Paul residents that recommend project and funding level to the mayor and our city councils since 2015, which budgeting decision reflect our community and equality, which is very important to me. My support in that project, identifying ways to invite more voice to the table and ensuring investment are distributed equally through our city of St. Paul. St. Paul is my home, and it is my community's home, and my community is part of all St. Paul communities that make it up St. Paul. But my community needed voice at the table. I believe that I can be that voice, but not just for my community, but for everyone. And I'm willing to help the St. Paul schools as a board members that reflect. As an immigrant starting in ESL, and I know that my story is some way unique, but the teacher, educational assistant, lunch work, and coach who made me feel important, who showed me that way I care, made me feel that matter. They made me my life better. Community matter, not just the East African community, but all community matter. I am sure that I can help our school connect with communities more effectively. I have been active for the past 10 years for the DFL and central committees, and I was able to connect more connection throughout brighter community in St. Paul. I ran in 2015 City Council where I brought up close to 1,000 individuals in the caucus night in 2015, where people has never participated for caucus or voting, but they were able to come out because they want their votes to matter and they want their voice to be heard. And that's the reason that I'm seeking for this position, for there's a lot of voiceless people that are concerned for their education, for their children, and many more. I thank you for having me here tonight, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. I'm looking to see if there's any clarifying raised hands. Seeing none, I'd say thank you for your time here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Next up is Shua Spencer Yang.
Chair Foster, I just texted Shua to see if he could join a bit early as well.
No problem. Thank you.
Shua, it looks like you might be joining us by phone.
I just try to make sure that if the other option is not work, that this is the second option. I just stand by for this. And I will join with the Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Chair Foster, I wonder if we want to take a couple-minute break. I'll try to call Shua and see if he needs some technical assistance in logging in. Oh, Chair Foster, I think you might be on mute.
It's it. Yeah, we can, if you could check in with him and see where he's at.
Okay, yep, I'll do that.
We're going to take a pause after this for review.
Okay, good.
Yep, it looks, if you
Okay,
want
do you,
to turn your video on though.
okay, do you want me to turn off or turn on?
If you want to turn it on.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay.
Oh, now we can see you.
Okay, now you see me, right?
There we go. Hello, welcome, Mr. Yang.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. You have the floor, sir.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Good evening, board members of the St. Paul Public School. My name is Shua Spencer Yang. I am a professor in the Department of Political Science at St. Cloud State University. I would like to express my appreciations to you for inviting me to make these presentations. Thank you so much. I also want to salute your service and leadership to move our St. Paul Public School forward toward excellence for the common interest of our community. Thank you. As a professor, serving both students and parents for years, I learned that the numbers of minority students who were dropped out from the university is larger than the numbers of Caucasian students. To understand the reasons of the dropout or achievement gaps among minority students, I conducted studies about student performance at Harding High School and found 3 reasons to explain the dropout. 1, those students who participate in the studies do not have motivations to learn. 2nd, their parents highly involved in their educations. Last but not least, there is a relationship problems between these parents of diverse cultures and school teachers. Having identified this issue, I have asked myself, how can I help St. Paul Public School to narrow such achievement gaps among minority students so that they can graduate from college? Graduating from college is not only important for individual students, but also for our country's growth and prosperities. So this question has been answered by the Board of Education. The short-term appointment for the Board of Education is a perfect opportunity for me to work on the issues of achievement gap with each one of you and the other stakeholders within the St. Paul Public School District. If I was appointed for the position, I will run for it in November's election to serve the St. Paul Public School. Serving my community is my duty and responsibilities as a proud citizen of the United States and as a proud Harding High School Knight. What I will bring to the St. Paul Public Schools are 3 specific educational contributions. 1 is my personal educational experience as a student and as an educator. 2nd, the experience of my parents involving in my educations. Last but not least, the notions of collaborative leadership. When I was a student, I cultivate a high motivations to learn. And that is, I have 3 goals to accomplish: long-term, intermediate, and short-term goal. The long-term goal is to obtain my doctorate. In order to achieve the long-term goals, I adopt intermediate goals in which I study hard to maintain GPAs well, to do well in all entrance exams, and to develop relationship with my professors so that they could write me excellence letters of recommendations to graduate school and appointments. In contrast to my study ethics, My study found that most of the students who participate in the study do not have motivations to learn. They go to college and have no ideas of what to study. They go to college because their friends go there. They do not do well in college and therefore drop out. And this is a very critical issue for minority students at the higher educations, not in St. Cloud State Universities, but others. In addition to these issues, the experience of my parents involving in my education is extremely important to enhance not only my educational performance, but also to strengthen my motivations to learn. To help my educations, my parents create both home-based and school-based educations. Home-based educations involve communication between me and my parents in regards to time management, homework, exam, and progress. Whereas school-based activities has been taken by my parents at school, where they participate in parents-teachers conference, others meet in class, and watch me participating in sport activity after school and so forth. In contrast to my parents, most minority parents do not involve in their kids' education because of the language barrier, because of the low socioeconomic status, and because of insufficient intellectual efficacies to communicate with teachers, who simultaneously also cannot relate their experience to these parents of different cultures, background, and expectations. So to address the issues of lacking motivations to learn among minority students and to facilitate social, cultural, and language barriers between minority parents at school, the collaborative leadership must be institutionalized within the Board of Education in terms of policy making and policy implementations, allocating resources throughout the St. Paul Public School. The definitions of collaborative leadership model is a decentralized leadership paradigm that manages people across functional organizational boundary in regard to planning, decision-making, and evaluations. Consistent with this bottom-up approach of leadership, the Board of Education should collaborate with school administrators, staff, department heads, community leaders, and parents to accomplish share a common goal for the betterment of the St. Paul Public School. Specifically, having collaborated with the stakeholders within the St. Paul Public School, the Board of Education is responsible to create a learning environment that inclusiveness by inviting parents into the process of decision-making, informing the progress of their kids in school, respecting their values, suggestion, input, and so forth. These collaborative values, I believe, will institutionalize a strong foundations of education for building trust between parents and school, and foster partnership and collaborations among the major stakeholders within the St. Paul Public Schools. Having presented you some of the critical issues within our St. Paul Public School and propose some solutions to address this critical issue for the common interest of our community, I am hereby asking each one of you, ladies and gentlemen, to consider my candidacy for the Board of Education. And your consideration is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. I'm looking for any hands. Thank you, Mr. Yang, for coming in today. And at this time, I'd like to thank all of our candidates, Yusuf Carrillo, James Farnsworth, Samakap Hussein, And Shua Spencer Yang, thank each of you for coming forth to stand in the gap and lead in this district. At this time, we are going to briefly recess for board members to do individual member considerations. And we will be back here at 7:05. If board members, if you feel you need a little more consideration time, please send me a text message or call me. This time we're going to take a 12-minute break for individual board considerations and return back here.
Chair Foster, you paused out at the very end there. Could you just repeat that last couple statement or sentences, please?
Well, there is a grid that was sent to us for board members to rank candidates based on those questions. At this time, we are going to take a break so board members can go through individual board member considerations, and we will be back at 7:05. If board members should need more time than that, please send a text to myself or Sarah for any extensions needed for deliberation. When we come back, we'll return to do nominations and selections of candidates to serve the term. Any other questions? I'll turn off my camera for the next 10 minutes. Thank you.
I could use a couple. But I'm ready to nominate if everyone's ready.
Okay, let's push this out till 7:10. How about that? I want to make sure you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, Director Broderick? We're just doing a quick roll call.
I'm
I was
Try and turn the light on in here.
Oh, Director Broderick, I think you might have been on mute.
I know I was on mute and I was trying desperately to get off of mute, but now that I'm okay, I'm here.
Okay.
All right. Roll call, please.
Director Vu,
Here.
Director Allen,
Here.
Director Kopp,
Here.
Director Ellis,
Here.
and Director Foster.
Here. All righty. Okay, next we'll begin the nomination process as outlined in Board Policy 202.02. In filling the vacancy, the chair shall call for nominations from members of the board. No member of the board may nominate more than one person. No second for the nomination is required. The appointment shall be filled by roll call vote. Appointment shall require a majority vote of the total membership of the board. If no nominee receives a majority vote, the chair shall reopen nominations. Due to this virtual environment, votes will be cast by roll call. The winning candidate will be announced at this special meeting, and all candidates will be notified of the outcome. The candidate appointee will assume office 30 days later, unless a valid petition to reject the appointee is filed with the school district clerk, Director Zuki Ellis. The appointee will hold office until a successor is elected and qualified in the November special election. We will initially go in voting order, and the nominations order will rotate by one name. Director Broderick, please state your nomination.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to place a nomination for interim school board member of the St. Paul Public Schools, Samakab Hussain.
Thank you. Director Vu, please state your nomination.
I nominate Yusuf Carrillo.
Thank you. Director Allen, please state your nomination.
I'd like to nominate James Farnsworth.
Director Kopp, please state your nomination.
I would like to nominate Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Ellis, please state your nomination.
I would like to nominate Yusuf Carrillo.
And I would nominate James Farnsworth. Nominations are now closed. Nominees were Samakab Hussain, one vote. Yusuf Carrillo, two votes, and James Farnsworth. Oh, Yusuf has 3 votes, if I'm looking at this correctly. Okay, so now we have our nominations. So the nominees are Samakab Hussain, Yusuf Carrillo, James Farmer-Nation. Based on those nominees, we'll vote, select a candidate based on that, the selection.
Director Broderick?
I think I need some clarification now.
So you were just doing a nomination, and now we are voting on the names that have been nominated.
So I can vote for any of the 3 people who were nominated.
Yes, that would be Samakab Hussein, Yusuf Carrillo, and James Farnsworth.
All right, my vote is for Samakab Hussein.
Director Vu,
My vote is for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Allen,
My vote is for James Farnsworth.
Director Cobb,
My vote is for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Ellis,
My vote is for Yusuf Carrillo.
and Director Foster.
My vote is for James Farnsworth.
So that vote was 1 for Samakab Hussein, 3 for Yusuf Carrillo, and 2 for James Farnsworth.
All right, there's a majority vote. A vote of 3 out of 6. Let me see here. I have to say congratulations to Yusuf Carrillo. At this time, I'd actually like to thank all the candidates who were, to those who were not selected.
Chair, excuse me, Chair.
Yes, did I miss something?
Yeah, pursuant to policy, the appointment requires a majority vote of the total member, a majority vote. 3 is not a majority.
Oh, because we're at 6. There are 6 board members. You were correct. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That good old not having a full board. Director Wu, you have a hand up as well. Looking at the wrong screen. So we
No, I think, General Counsel.
just responded. So having that, there was not a majority vote. So my apologies. We will go nominations. So we are going to go back. My apologies to you all. And since there was not a majority vote, nominations will be actually reopened, beginning with Director Vu.
I nominate Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Allen.
I nominate James Farnsworth.
Director Cobb.
My vote is for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Ellis.
Yusuf Carrillo.
And I will nominate Yusuf Carrillo. Director Broderick, please restate your name. Director Broderick.
I will vote hear your vote again, Chair Foster.
Excuse, it's again, we did not have a majority vote, so.
No. I have not voted yet. I'm asking whether I could hear your vote again. I did not hear your vote.
Nominations, nominating Yusuf. I believe I've just misworded this as well again, and I apologize. So please forgive me during my if I can start back from the top. This is about a nomination, not a vote, because there was no consensus for. Well, we needed to start nominations over to go to a vote. Director Vu.
My nomination is Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Allen.
My nomination is James Farnsworth.
Director Cobb.
My nomination is Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Ellis.
Yusuf Carrillo.
My nomination is James Farnsworth.
My nomination is Samakab. This is a nomination, not a vote.
Nomination, yes, not a vote.
My nomination is Samakab Hussein.
Thank you. Nominations are now closed, and I will apologize to all the nominees for my lack of clarity at this moment. The nominees are, nominations are now closed, and the nominees will be Samakab Hussein, Yusuf Carrillo, and James Farnsworth. We will now do a roll call vote, so please vote your selected candidate based on nominated candidates. Voting in the order, Director Broderick.
I vote for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Vu,
I vote for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Allen,
I vote for James Farnsworth.
Director Kopp,
I vote for Yusuf Carrillo.
Director Ellis, oh, I'm sorry, Director, oh, okay, perfect. Director Ellis,
Yusuf Carrillo,
and Director Foster.
I vote for Yusuf Carrillo.
And that vote was 5 votes for Yusuf Carrillo and 1 vote for James Farnsworth.
That was a majority vote. I'm gonna get my faculties in order. So that vote was 5-1 for Yusuf Carrillo. Congratulations to Yusuf Carrillo. Thank you to all the candidates. To all of you who were not selected, we encourage you to run in the upcoming special election. We'll now open it up to board members for closing remarks, beginning with Director Broderick.
I have actually no real closing remarks other than to really sincerely thank all of the people who threw their hat in the ring, so to speak, and stood and stepped forward to do this work for the good of St. Paul kids, the good of the St. Paul School District, and for the good of the city of St. Paul. Without people like the people that we just heard from tonight, and other folks, and the other people who threw their hat in the ring this time around, and even the people that are going to run in the upcoming elections, we cannot possibly have the kind of school boards and local governing bodies that we need to maintain the wonderful city that we live in. So my sincere thanks to everyone, and my congratulations to Mr. Carrillo.
Council Long, your hand is up. Did I miss you? Or is that standing?
Oh, my apologies, Chair Foster. I meant to lower that.
Thank you. Director Vu.
Yes, I would also like to thank all the applicants for stepping into this very difficult position. Dr. Marchese was a strong and steady voice throughout his time on the school board. We still miss his work. I miss his work. I miss working alongside him. And this work isn't easy work. To say that this work is a commitment is really underselling the duty that we are all charged with. And I think every candidate who interviewed today is capable of doing this work. And as Chair Foster said, please, we encourage you to run in this year's election for the open seats. It was a very difficult decision. And also to Yusuf Carrillo, I look forward to working with you in the future.
Director Allen.
I just want to mimic basically what my colleagues were saying, which is basically this is hard work. And so thank you to everybody who applied. I think it was a tough decision to make. There was a lot of really strong candidates. I'm excited to work with you, Yusuf Carrillo. I think you're a strong candidate also, and you're going to bring a lot to this board. So I'm excited to get going.
Director Cobb.
Thank you, Chair Foster. My colleagues have read my mind a little bit with how I'm feeling at the moment. Just really grateful for people willing to step up into this role, for everyone who applied and for everyone we heard from tonight. You know exactly how hard this moment is in public education, and yet you are here ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work, and that says a lot about you. And so I'm grateful, and that I hope all of you continue to be involved in St. Paul Public Schools in some way, whether you decide to run for election or you just want to reach out and find a way to connect and be involved. Please do that. Congratulations to Yusuf Carrillo. I've never been good at rolling my R's, but I shall endeavor to practice and learn. And I'm really looking forward to working with and learning from you.
Director Ellis.
Congratulations to Yusuf Carrillo. I just realized this is the third time that I've had to do an appointment while I've been on this board, and each time has been a different experience. And like people who are involved in our community who want to support the district and the work of students in the district has always been really good and bring the best of our community together for this moment. And again, I think to the point others have made, this isn't the end of it, right? There's still the opportunity to come back and be elected, and hopefully not too many more appointments in this way, because I think that this is one way that a board gets created, but I think that community saying who they'd like to be here in this space is just as important too. And we are not the end all to be all, right? But I do think that community would and should always have a voice in who they choose to represent them. And so I encourage each and every one of them to come back and to be in this upcoming election and to find their way here at a different time. Thank you, colleagues, for time and attention to this. This is always complicated and hard. You want everybody to come, and yet you can't bring everybody.
Thank you. And I would just, same sentiments. Thank you to each of you for stepping forward. And I know each candidate knew they were stepping forward into immensely important and deep work for the betterment of our kids and our greater St. Paul community. As all directors have said, we look forward to those running in November. And I just note, as folks think about what they want to run, there is the regular election cycle, and then there will be the special election for a 2-year seat. So should you not want to fulfill a 4-year term, there is the option of a special election to fill Director Marchese's seat as well. Whatever way you choose to show up, just note that every day in our schools, your voice matters. And there are always ways to be involved in what's happening. So thank you to each of the candidates. To Yusuf Carrillo, okay, I'm gonna figure it out. It is an honor. Welcome to the team. We look forward to working with you as a colleague and getting to know you better, and looking forward to the work that you will do on behalf of our staff and students and families and community here in St. Paul. Superintendent Goddard, would you like to provide any closing remarks?
Thank you, Chair Foster. First, members of the board, thank you very much. You know, as Director Ellis stated, how important these elections are, and I really appreciate your work to add a new colleague to the board tonight. To Mr. Carrillo, you know, today marks the 1-year anniversary of the last time I addressed our leadership team in person. And I mentioned that in a meeting today, and there's a lot of hard work, a lot of really hard times behind us. there are a lot of hard times, but opportunities ahead of us. And we just look forward to working together, representing our great school district and this wonderful community. So thanks to all of you for running. Mr. Carrillo, we look forward to welcoming you to the board. And again, thank you very much, Chair Foster.
At this point, I would move to approve the resolution filling the school board vacancy by appointment. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So that resolution goes as such. Whereas the vacancy occurred more than 90 days prior to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November in the year the vacancy occurred and prior to the fourth year of the vacant term. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 625, State of Minnesota as follows. Pursuant to Minnesota statute, section 123B.09, subdivision 5B, 2020. Yusuf Carrillo is hereby appointed to fill the vacancy and to serve until a successor is elected and qualified. The appointment shall be effective April 15, 2021, 30 days after the adoption of this resolution, unless a valid petition to reject the appointment is filed. Statute, section 123B.09, subdivision 5B, 2020, within that 30 days time period. That resolution was seconded by Director Allen. Vote, please.
Director Broderick? Oh, there we go. Director Broderick?
Yes.
Director Vu?
Yes.
Director Allen?
Yes.
Director Kopp?
Yes.
Director Ellis?
Yes.
And Director Foster?
Yes.
And that vote was 6 yeses, 0 noes.
And that vote was unanimous. Congratulations to Yusuf Carrillo, and we look forward to working together with you.
Yes.
Board
Right.
member-elect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, I would motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, Ellis.
Thank you. That motion was seconded by Director Ellis. Vote, please.
Director Broderick?
Yes.
Director Vu?
Yes.
Director Allen?
Yes.
Director Kopp?
Yes.
Director Ellis?
Yes.
And Director Foster?
Yes. That vote was unanimous. The time is now 7:34 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you all, and thank you to our listening, watching community.
Thank you, guys. Peace.
Night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.